What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. Just a few days ago at the time of recording this video, Konami announced that they have in development a brand new Yu-Gi-Oh! Video game. Now, they didn't announce much detail aside from the fact that it's currently in development, but some sources were saying it's going to be an actual video game. Others were saying it's going to be more like a simulator, which is what we might be used to for anyone who plays Dueling Book, YGO Pro, and the like. So I wanted to make this video because I think it is paramount that we do everything in our power to convey to Konami the type of game that we want to see them release, and this is something that I have personally been advocating for the past several years. All the other major trading card games have some sort of online platform, and yeah, some people may say that, oh, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has Duel Links. Duel Links is not the real Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. It's a completely different beast, and this is our opportunity to maybe have a small, minute chance to be able to shape the way that this game ends up turning out, and so that's the discussion I wanted to bring to you today. So the first section of this video is going to be dedicated towards features that I feel are absolutely mandatory at the bare minimum that we should expect to see from an online Yu-Gi-Oh! Platform in 2020. First up, both TCG and OCG play. If they make a platform like this, they're not going to want to make two separate versions, one for the TCG and one for the OCG, so they need to localize it as best they can for everyone, especially because we have different formats. It wouldn't be that difficult if the game was the same for everyone in the TCG and the OCG, but we have different ban lists. Hell, we even have different card pools, and so I think they need to include both of those options and let people play both. If people on the TCG side want to play in the OCG and vice versa, let them. What does it matter? It actually gives people a new experience that they may have never had before, and I think that is a really good thing. Next up, it's going to be an automatic simulator. I know I personally, and a lot of other people, like manual simulators because it much more reflects real life play and sitting across from an opponent playing a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! But when you're in an online environment and when you look at some of the other platforms out there like Hearthstone, MTG Arena, they're all automated. And honestly, for the sake of headache and rulings, and because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the most complicated card game there is, it is 100% going to be an automated simulator, which I'm okay with. If we're going to be getting a simulator that's first party regardless, it has to be automated, and I want it to be as smooth as possible. Next up is a big one. We need to have both a ranked mode and a casual mode. For people who just want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! With their friends, they can go into the casual mode, but for the people seeking that hardcore competitive experience, there needs to be a ranked ladder, and I'm going to go into more detail on this a little bit later because it'll be a little bit more relevant. I would also like to see a solo mode or solitaire mode incorporated just so you can do test hands with the deck and just be able to play out the types of combos and maybe practice the combos just like you would in real life if you had physical cards, because I think that's a great way for people to just practice new things and get exposed to a much more wider breadth of cards. I also think that this new game should take inspiration from MTG Arena and Hearthstone when it comes to a few specific things. First up, card crafting. I think they should definitely have a system where you can break down or disenchant certain cards and be able to build other cards you don't have, so that way it's a way that you can get rid of a bunch of extra commons that are going to end up adding up over time to be able to turn those into other cards you may not necessarily have yet. MTG Arena has a wild card system where in some of the booster packs you purchase, you get a wild card of a certain rarity, which can then transform into any card of that specific rarity, and I think both of these systems are great, and it just makes it a lot easier for players to acquire certain cards, and when you're in a digital environment like this, why would you not want to take advantage? I think it also goes without saying that this game should become the hub for all rulings, both TCG and OCG, and the reason for that is anyone who's playing this online should feel confident knowing that if they want to play in person at an event, that the way that the cards interact in the game is going to be the same way that they interact in real life, and sometimes that is a bit of an issue depending on what platform that you play on, or, you know, people playing OCG or TCG, the rulings are different, but I think in an online environment where these types of things can be coded, it can basically be finalized that this is how it should be, no questions asked. This is also really important because other legacy titles of Yu-Gi-Oh! Have issues with this, but we need to make sure this game is frequently updated. I'm talking about ban lists, I'm talking about new cards being added to the game. This game should be synonymous with everything that's happening in the physical TCG when it comes to product release, when it comes to any new changes to the game. Those changes should be implemented at the exact same time that they are implemented in the TCG. And I think possibly the biggest, most important aspect of this new game is that it's available on mobile. Yes, you see a game like MTG Arena that's available on PC and Mac, but the thing is, why would you not want as many people playing your game as possible at all hours of the day? Hearthstone does this, and clearly they they were able to do it well before MTG Arena came around, so I think this is a route that Konami should 100% pursue and just go all out to make it as great of an experience as they can. So I feel that's it for the must-haves, or at least the rock-bottom expectations, but just hearing about all those different features, that already sounds pretty great, right? Well, where do we go from here? Well, one of the biggest things when it comes to this game is how are they going to monetize it? Because obviously Konami would not be pursuing this if they didn't have a monetization model in mind, and so that's what I wanted the bulk of this video to discuss. When you look at games like MTG Arena and Hearthstone, both of these games have a free-to-play model and a pay-to-play model. The free-to-play model is that once you create your account, you're given a pool of cards, and then you can just start playing against, you know, AIs or even other opponents. You earn gold, you can buy packs with the gold, and the cycle just continues until you get the types of cards that you want. Alternatively, if you want to skip all the grinding, you can just pay for the pack straight out of the gate with real-life money, and that way you can get the cards that you want and start playing the game the way you want to play it. For games like MTG Arena and Hearthstone, this model works rather adequately because they operate on set rotation, which means there's only about 2 years worth of sets that are legal at any given time in their standard format, and so if you're joining in at any moment, there's only going to be a very limited card pool that you have to choose from. However, when you try to translate this to Yu-Gi-Oh, it becomes a lot more complicated because Yu-Gi-Oh is just one giant eternal format. We can play cards from all the way back in 2002 in Legend of Blue Eyes, so are you telling me Konami is going to import every single set and product that they've ever created for the game into this version and have people essentially double up and buy them again? I don't know if that's really feasible. In the short term, this doesn't seem like the worst, right? Because typically for modern Yu-Gi-Oh, most of the best decks were printed within the last couple of years, so you'd only have to get the cards from the last few sets, but then a lot of the times there are these really obscure cards that might have only like a single printing from like a really weird set. Think of a card like a Pointer of the Red Lotus. I know it just had the OTS reprint, but again, prior to that, it didn't have any reprint and it was just super obscure and hard to find. So you're telling me that if you want a card like that, you're gonna have to go all the way back to the booster set that was released in, start cracking packs to open that? I don't know. Could Konami apply this model? Absolutely, and honestly, they might just be seeing dollar signs if people are going to double up and buy the same product again, especially knowing that there's no secondary market for people to flock to. But I don't think that's really going to play well for a majority of the player base if they know that this is the way that they have to acquire cards, and it's kind of stuck in this 2003-esque model where players are going to have to grind. Do you guys remember those old Game Boy Advance games where you would start with a deck of like vanilla monsters and just atrocious spells and traps, and you had to slowly work your way through the gutters to be able to just buy a single pack of cards to maybe get something good to upgrade it? I think that model is incredibly outdated, and there are so many other directions they could take with it in 2021. So then this begs the question, how could Konami implement this in a more organic and natural way that it's not going to seem like a gacha game or like another Duel Links clone? Because I think a lot of people are really turned off by the Duel Links model, and I personally believe that there's a much better way to go about it. One approach that they take is that they set the game at a given price point like they did for Legacy of the Duelist at like $20 or $30, give everyone access to the entire card pool, and then basically they just update the game like they would any other regular Yu-Gi-Oh game, which is something that they've done in the past, so it wouldn't be out of the question that they do it now. The problem with this is that this is also a little bit archaic. A lot of games now have a sort of free-to-play option incorporated to them, and so how would you go about doing that for a Yu-Gi-Oh game specifically? Konami could go the 2003 Game Boy Advance route where they just give you a deck of vanilla cards and you have to slowly grind your way up the ladder to be able to get more cards, and this is really like how free-to-play Duel Links works in a lot of ways. Yeah, there's a bunch of giveaways and stuff for you to earn special tickets to be able to unlock extra cards, but I don't necessarily think that's the right way to do it. I'm going to suggest something that is really far out there, but I also have some empirical data to back this up to prove that it is in fact profitable. What I'm suggesting is make the game free to play. Give the players access to every single card from the onset and allow them to play the game as they regularly would. This way people don't feel like they're really far behind if they join late into the game, and that way they don't feel like they have to grind if they even want to play with their friends because they don't even have a deck that can compete. Now you're probably thinking I'm insane that they're actually going to make this game free, but here is where the monetization aspect comes in. You have a pay-to-play model that is parallel to the free-to-play model, and the pay pay-to-play model has a lot more features available. You incorporate features such as accessing the ranked playlist. This is something that all the competitive players are going to want to have access to. Maybe you incorporate a lot of other features that make it really enticing for players to want to be able to move from that free-to-play model up into the paid model, but you're not really taking anything away from players' ability to be able to play regular Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe give them access to challenges and special avatars and calling cards that way they can customize their experience, maybe custom card backs. There's a lot of things that Konami could do to be able to implement this and make it enticing enough for people to pay a subscription model of like $5 a month, $10 a month, hell, even $15 a month. And I think a majority of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Player base would pay that because that really isn't unrealistic. And to cite some empirical evidence to prove that this model is sustainable, I want to quickly talk about a game that is near and dear to my heart, which is Old School RuneScape. Yes, I play Old School RuneScape. Anyone who knows me personally knows this very well. It's also great to play while I'm editing because it's very AFK, but nonetheless, Jagex, the company that owns Old School RuneScape, adapts this very model where they have a free-to-play and a pay-to-play, and the free-to-play is actually a very generous experience that really doesn't take much away from the player, but actually gives you more as you go into the pay-to-play environment. And Jagex recently posted a couple of months ago their 2019 financials, and by looking at this here, you can see that they revealed its 5th successive year of growth, with revenue increasing by 19.4% year on year to 110.9 million pounds in 2019. Operating profits also grew to just over 48.9 million pounds, representing an annual increase of 4.5%. And this is incredible. A majority of this revenue actually comes from sustained membership from people who play Old School RuneScape. It shows that this model works. They are able to monetize this and make a killing when it comes to this, but it also doesn't relinquish the player experience. It gives players the best experience right out of the gate. And then if you want a higher, more elevated experience on top of that, you can go the pay-to-play route, and both ways work, and people are generally happy with the results. And so why can't we take this model and apply it to a 2021 Yu-Gi-Oh! Game? I think it is highly sustainable. It would make Konami a ton of money, and it doesn't really take a lot away from the player base. In fact, it actually enhances the experience for anyone who wants to move from the free-to-play to the pay-to-play model. It's nice because no one has to do these monotonous grinds that they've already done hundreds of times before. People can just jump right in, immerse themselves, get addicted, and then if they want to keep going, they can go to the pay-to-play model, and that way they're going to be really excited to tell their friends, hey, here's a card game that doesn't have this gotcha model, and you can just start playing right now for free. I think that would be a huge hit, but obviously it is a little bit of a pipe dream. Even if Konami wants to take it a step further and implement microtransactions for cosmetic purposes only, I think the player base would be generally okay with that given this two-tiered model, because you can still play the game entirely for free, but if you want to have a special card back, or if you want to have a special avatar or a special calling card, and you know, they can do certain stuff for different events to make people incentivized to do that. They can have like a challenge system that would allow people to do gimmicky win conditions, or maybe make it to the top tiers of the ranked playlist and you get like a special card back that you can show off to show that you made it all the way that far. I think there are so many different things that Konami could do with a game like this and really make it the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game of our dreams, but it's going to be a lot of work. What I don't want this game to become is just another gotcha game or another Duel Links where you just have to mindlessly grind for packs, hitting the autoplay button. That shouldn't even exist. How is that even a game if it has an autoplay button? That is just horrific. I just want to see it actually be a fully fleshed out, highly immersive game that people are excited to play. I don't want to see it muddled down by microtransactions. I don't want to see just all these different events and all these different currencies flying all over the place just to try to get more money out of you. Gaming has just become so toxic from that perspective, and Konami has the opportunity to actually be a pioneer for change. And I know that is grossly optimistic of me to think, but that is why I am making this video. I am a champion for you guys, and I am the voice of the community. And so if there is even one person at Konami that sees this and thinks, hey, you know what? These ideas are actually pretty good. Maybe we should implement them. And if some of these ideas actually do end up translating, then that's the best case scenario. But if we stay silent and don't voice our opinions and don't voice what we feel we deserve in a actual 2021 Yu-Gi-Oh game, when Yu-Gi-Oh is far behind the rest of the curve when it comes to online environments, then I think that would be a complete disservice. We need to use our voice as a community so that way we can help usher in the greatest Yu-Gi-Oh game of our time. Again, I know I'm an optimist. Obviously, that's the case. Anyone who's a longtime fan of the channel knows this, but there is so much opportunity here, and I really don't want to see Konami squander it. I really want this game to be incredible, and so I want to do everything that I can to help make that vision come to a reality. So guys, that's gonna wrap it up for the video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and please start a discussion down there talking about every single thing you want to see this game become and you also don't want to see it become. The more feedback that we can have in the comment section, the more input that's going to provide Konami, if they even see this video, but let's be honest, they do watch these videos, and I think that could be a very useful resource for them to use. Who knows? Maybe they just ignore us entirely. That's probably going to be the case, but there's hope. I want to at least try, and from the bottom of my heart, I believe that this game could be truly remarkable. Thank you so much for watching the video, and we'll see you next time.